All right. We are about to start. Nice to see so many of you coming here today. How many of you have been in Oulu's event before? Please raise your hand. Okay. About a half and a half. Good. Today, our program is about as follows. First, a short introduction from us, Oulu ES, and doctoral student section as well. Then we have a short speech from Matti Saren from university, and that should be around the topic. Yeah. And then our keynote start with Pekka Vehviläinen, and about the topic how when you're PhD or PhD student, you can use your knowledge to become a better entrepreneur. Small break, more coffee, some soda and nuts we have there. Then Toni Manninen is coming to stage telling how to start up your startup. And last but not least, Katri Saarikivi is going to have her presentation. She should be in the airport right about now, so hopefully she will make it here as well. There is forms in front of you. So if you are students and you use Tellus, please fill them up. And if you're not student, still please fill them up. This was also a question asked before. So if you are going to tweet, Instagram, whatever, use onstage hashtag. And about the Oulu ES. So Oulu ES is students-based organizations, and our mission is to help all the students and Oulu startup ecosystem to find each other and help them to learn skills and start up their own companies. Here's a few building blocks about how we think we can help you to develop yourself, start up your own company, and get inspired. I draw this process picture or loop, how we think we can do that. So first, we want to get you inspired. I think this is kind of event where we hope you will get inspired and that spark, so you want to come to our next events and also do things by yourself. Building up your network, we help you to connect with entrepreneurs, with other students from other faculties, and well, now we are at the Oulu University, but we also have students and events and in Business Kitchen and Applied Sciences, so great place to meet people from there as well. And most of all, do it attitude and learn something about what you do. Here's some of our other events we have had during this year and upcoming ones. If you want to start entrepreneurship this summer, we have summer entrepreneurship course coming up, and also, well, it's listed, yeah, startup weekend. So I think not this weekend, but the next. First startup weekend is in Oulu is organized. I'm going to do some food there, so should be good. And we have a special promotional code for you to come. So it's normally 50 euros, but you get it half price. I will send the promo code to Facebook group after this. But yeah. Now I would like to ask Jana to tell something about our other organizational team here. Please.
All right, dear Vice Rector and honored speakers and the whole university community. My name is Jaana Isohätälä. I am the chair of the doctoral students section of the student union in this university. The doctoral students section, or DSS, is the voice and community of doctoral students in this university. Our goal is to offer networking and events and make sure that doctoral students' interests are heard in decision making. We hope that students will truly benefit from their doctoral studies and that they can all find the true potential in their research. And I hope that this event will inspire you to expand your horizons and expand your expertise beyond academia to entrepreneurship, but not forgetting research. Okay, so welcome on my behalf. And can I ask Matti Sareen? Yes.
Yes, too many mics and only one DJ. So, thanks for this opportunity to say a couple of words about entrepreneurship, education, and also how the university may help you in pursuit of your dreams. My name is Matti Sareen, and my role is hello to all the streamers there. My role is to make sure that the cooperation between the university and surrounding society, companies and other parties are working seamlessly. It's nice to speak here about doctoral entrepreneurship. I found my first company in college and run that until today, still on the file in my home. Although nowadays some other things keeps me quite busy. That was about computers. I made software, I made some hardware. I went to the university to understand more why the computers work like they work. That was my kind of angle why I was interested about academics. Strictly traditional way about how the academics work, that was not my beef. I made a couple of papers and had my PhD in Helsinki University. But actually making some new and making impact to the society through these ideas and let's say products was more for me. And that is of course one role of the university. So we are here to make a research, to make those scientific findings. In that way we are paying our respect to the culture and well-being at the moment. Giving back to the science that has, in the end of the day, lead us here. So that is one role of the university. The second role is to teach, to educate students to be fruitful part in the society, the education. And of course the third one is to get the feedback. What is needed in the society? What are the things that really matters? And now we are in the point of today's session. I saw some statistics yesterday from government and they said that in Finland roughly 10% of university students have position in the university in the future. So that means that 90% of our students will find their way of life outside of the academia. And I think that is a major thing to say aloud. Many of us thinks how we research, how we do the science, but the majority in the long term will get that knowledge, that know-how to the surrounding society. So nowadays, universities is being considered much about the benefit or value for the society. Maybe in the older days, it was considered that we need to educate now I'm losing one word. Educate people for running cities, for running countries. Then the universities was seen as a tool to increase our knowledge, and nowadays we are talking much about the benefit. This will change during the time. Now we are in the time of benefit, but where the benefit comes actually, where the growth comes. I think the time of the big single companies maybe is over in this region. Let's hope that some of companies maybe found by you will be the next Nokia or Microsoft or Google. But meanwhile, defining those ideas, growing those SME companies are the ones we should focus on. University is helping you to pursue these ideas, to run your business ideas and test them with the multiple means. We have Demola, we have Avanto Accelerator, you are here in Tellus Arena. And the function of this is to make networking, to see the opportunities and to find something that nobody else has found earlier. To have that clue that maybe this is the thing I like to do and work on. University is of course a nice platform. We have here roughly 16,000 students, ranging from medics to teachers, engineers to the natural scientists. And this is the best way and best platform to find opportunities. University wants to help you on your pursuit. And how we do that? Well, we have these platforms, but in the same, we have opportunities to give, for example, office space, startups. We have opportunities to help you on sparring your business or to protect the ideas you are going to have. Startupping is fun. I like that, and that's the reason why I'm also part of a couple of startups. It's exploring yourself, it's the exploring of the new ideas, and especially make the difference. Be there and make the difference. And this meeting and these organizations are the right to pursue your opportunities. From my behalf and the behalf of the university, warmly welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, as you maybe have noticed, we have to change the program a little bit because of the public transportation mostly. So now the first guest speaker is going to be Pekka Vehviläinen from Digital Health Solutions, right? And well, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I will set your slides up.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks, Antti, for having me here again, because basically I consider this as a second event of Oulu ES, even though we have this PhD grad students here. And I love to come to Oulu nowadays because I just rather recently moved from Helsinki to Vuokatti. Any from Kajaani region or from Sotkamo? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. One. Okay. So actually, I would like to learn a little bit more about you. So how many of you are pursuing their own doctorate? Raise your hand. So how many of you are in doctorate grad school? Okay. Yeah, the majority. And the rest of you are just for your masters. Yeah, it's not just, but masters is really important as well. Anyone here came just for the food and drinks? No. Antti. Okay. Cool. What I like to tell you or present to you is from my own experience what it means to become from a doctor to an entrepreneur. There is actually no reason that you couldn't start your own business while you are doing your masters or whenever you are legally allowed to do that. So basically 18 years old. So by all means do it, because like, why wait if you have a really good idea or you feel like that I'm an entrepreneur by nature. So for me it took quite a long time. That it's often played that if you are in the field of academics, you tend to overanalyze that is this really good, can I do it, and so on. But kind of like my first advice is just do it. Don't think it too much, because like if you think and overanalyze it, you end up doing nothing. And one of the things that I hear people often say that it's risky business. So what is the real risk in Finland? That you are kicked in the gutter and starved to death. Not likely to happen. So we have a really good social security system which will kind of like support you if you end up like going bankrupt or anything like that. So just do it. But for myself, so basically what I would like to then highlight and go forward is that how you define success. So basically if you start to be an entrepreneur, I think you should have some idea that how you can sustain basically your own living, but your own business, and then grow your business. A lot of being as an entrepreneur or being in a corporate world is growing your business, because otherwise, if you have a really good idea but you don't grow it, others will just eat you out. And so that's kind of like embedded in the system. Of course, if you are a really good like a public speaker or presenter, you can just make a nice living out of like from your personal experience and on your own personal account. But as soon as you start to hire people or develop a product, then you need to have some kind of like idea what is success and what skills do you need to have for success. And also, it's important to recognize if you lack some of your skills, because like it's not the end of the world, because you can hire people and you can have people to do it for you. But it's important to recognize that yourself. And this is actually, there is a book behind this stuff. So there is one, I can't remember his name by heart, it will soon pop up. But this guy interviewed actually 500 really successful people in terms of like politics or entertainment or in business. For example, the founders of Google. So are there these common denominators that really make people successful? And if there are these common denominators for people, what are those? And based on these 500 interviews of really successful people, he found out that there are actually 8 common denominators that make people really successful. Work, for example, is really one of them. So if you will become an entrepreneur, of course, you need to be willing to work, at least a little bit. I think it's a little bit of a myth that you really need to work 16 hours a day or really sweat your butt out, that otherwise you will lose or go bankrupt. I don't find that true. You need to be hardworking and skillful, but it's rather a matter of networking with people and working with your network than just putting your just long hours or long days. So, but work is definitely important. And also just to recognize and ask people that where can I improve? What can I do constantly better? Because you learn by mistakes, and if you make mistakes, you just learn from those and then you improve. So it's not a catastrophe if a client even says that, okay, this was bullshit, or I don't like you, and then you can ask that, okay, what was wrong? How can I improve? So that is kind of like the mindset that an entrepreneur should have. Then focus. This is the hardest thing for me, definitely the hardest thing for me. Because if you are an intelligent person or outgoing, you want to do like everything. The world is out there and you want to do a lot of stuff. So myself, for example, I do scuba diving, parachuting, martial arts. I love computer games. I like to play guitar, organs, and do whatever. But it's just impossible to do that because you have only 24 hours per day. So you need to have the focus, and that's sometimes really, really hard for me. Luckily, I'm now in business with my spouse, so she's a bit better in that. And then she says that, okay, Pekko, focus, focus, focus. And that's really good to realize that if you're not good in some of these areas, that you will have a partner who will direct you into the right path. This is the most important thing. I will talk a little bit more about this. So what is your passion? If there is no passion, there is no business. So for example, as a grad student, you probably, what is the most common question that you are constantly being asked about your doctorate studies? What is it? When are you going to finish it? Yeah. Isn't that annoying? I was so annoyed when I realized this, when it's going to be finished. So like what? Are you coming to my karonka or something? Are you waiting for the invite? What? Yeah. So what I would like to hear is that what is it about? What you are studying? What's your kind of like passion? And my passion, I studied with the neural networks. So I read these articles and science fiction about robots and stuff like that. So things that artificial intelligence, that's really intriguing. And when I learned that I could, there is courses about that in Tampere. I did my automation technology studies in Tampere, and it was possible to study neural networks and fuzzy logic. It was really like, how can I get in? So that was really important for me, and not anything like can I grow business and how much I get paid in the future. But so how does the brain work and how we can automate things? That was really my passion back then. So that's important. Anyone wants to? What's your passion? Anyone? Serious games. Okay, great. What about you? Teaching, yeah. So if you're doing something and you're passionate about it, I think that is really, really the first step. And you should hold on to that thought, because you will going to be successful in that anyways. That's what I believe. And then push. So you need to push yourself. That's kind of like evident. But this is really, that's not so evident, that if you're going into business, as an entrepreneur, or if you're not in the business, if you're a teacher at the university or in a public office, you should always think that who's your client? Who are you going to serve? Now I think that I'm serving you by sharing my experiences about my doctoral studies and how it feels like to be an entrepreneur. If I'm not serving you, you are in the wrong place and I'm in the wrong place, right? And the idea, business idea, and then the persist kind of like any obstacles that you might face during your entrepreneurship. But I mean, all this is something that this can be definitely done. It's not rocket science as itself. It's really matter of kind of like believing yourself and doing what you do best. And this is the book, so it's easy to read, but I think it has some really good ideas. And the person was Richard St. John, and he has actually his speeches. You can find those in YouTube as well if you want to learn about that. So these things, I think many of you have seen these already, but I couldn't highlight this enough. So passion needs to be there. You need to be passionate about something. Then you, as an entrepreneur, especially in startup phase, when you don't have the resources or money to hire all the people that you would want to hire to do kind of like stuff that you don't want to do yourself, or you cannot do yourself. So you need to have this kind of like multi-skill type of attitude. Go maybe out of your comfort zone to do something that you wouldn't normally do. And then, of course, there needs to be a market need. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, somebody is going to pay you something about what you do or produce. And that somebody is this mythical client. And the clients, they don't necessarily buy your kind of like first idea and think that, oh, this guy is brilliant, I will buy anything from him. It's often vice versa, that you need to kind of like justify, and then sometimes you see that, oh, okay, maybe I would do otherwise, but it is the client, and you really need to listen to the client and their needs, and to have this long-term relationship with the client. This is really something that I learned with Accenture when I was a consultant, that sales and building your business is really, really a hard skill, but you can actually master that. And the most important thing in this need is listening to your client and listening to the market, learning new things about market, what is going on, what is the market need, what is the problem that needs to be solved. And if you think that you have all these three together, then it's just a matter of doing it. And then the matter of doing it's an art of itself. So I already told you about my passion, but I have like several of these kind of like passions that I think I can build on, and I'm building on now. And one of them is definitely these gadgets. So they call me the most quantified man in Finland, and I think I have been going into extent on that. I have this inside my hand, there is a microchip. It's an NFC-based radio chip that I can read and write with my phone, and currently it has my Bitcoin wallet information stored in that. So a bit over 1 year ago, I think there hasn't been anyone who has proven us otherwise, we did first money transfer from a mobile device to a person's hand in Helsinki. So that's actually pretty convenient. But now there is actually one startup that I think it was today I noticed that they are building their business that is bio-paying, that you could like impute these chips inside you and then just use your hand for paying and accessing doors and whatever. So these kind of like things, and it was really cool to be, I'm the first guy in Finland who does a silly thing like that in public or something like that. But I'm really passionate about these devices, and just today I was meeting with Polar, and I really think that the latest device is really, really cool one, and actually I'm going to use it in our business to gather the data from the people to coach them in well-being. And then analytics, as I said, neural networks is one part of that, but then of course my passion is and still is artificial intelligence and neural networks, but analytics is much more than that. It's statistical preparation of data. You need to learn those skills. Then you need to have basic skills about statistical distributions and whatever. So those are the kind of like base things that you need to learn before you can do neural networks, which is rather advanced at the moment, and it's amazing. So this is really my passion. If I have data, what I can learn from the data and turn into kind of like scientific paper first of all, but then it can be IPR, so intellectual property rights, a patent, and if you have a patent, then you might think that okay, how I can turn this into an innovation? Is there a market need for this? How can I productize this and so on? Then I really like writing, so bi-weekly I write to Helsingin Sanomat about various topics. I've been a couple of times in television and in radio. So what I like to think that I would like to be a Petteri Järvinen or Mikko Hyppönen, you know those guys. Petteri Järvinen is if there is anything related to PC. So they always call to Petteri Järvinen and his face is there. If there is a virus problem, they always call to F-Secure and Mikko Hyppönen and tell us about this virus. And there are these certain faces in the media that you are all familiar with, and those are considered the experts. Even though for some reason some journalist one time just picked them up and okay, that guy was a good presenter. Let's call him again and again and again. And of course it's really good for business. So in terms of marketing, if you are writing to national media or if you have national media appearances, it's really good for business. But also it's kind of like puts you under magnifying glass that people are really scrutinizing your opinion, and I get a lot of feedback that people are saying that okay, this is wrong or this is right, and have you thought of this and this and this. So I think the term self-branding is a little bit overused at the moment, but still I find it really valuable because both LinkedIn and Twitter, there are these two-liners. You need to define yourself in 2 lines, and that kind of like gives you the gives a broader audience information that okay, what you are, in what type of things we should contact you. One good example is that in 1st of June I'm going to University of St. Gallen in Switzerland, and they just found me from Twitter that I've been doing this crazy stuff like putting chips inside my hand and doing a lot of self-measurement and stuff like that. And they contacted me from the university and said that, okay, you seem to be a kind of like extrovert in this, and you seem to be knowing a lot of these things. And then we had a call and they invited me to have a panel discussion there. So the social media and self-branding is really important, even though if you wouldn't like to promote yourself that much, but I think you should have a really nice picture of yourself and just these 2 lines, what you are really good at, what you like to do. And it's nowadays, if people are searching some things, you might find yourself in really peculiar situations or things. One good example is that I was presenting in Tampere, and there was one lady in the audience. And after my presentation, she approached me and Pekko that you were the reason that I came to this event. And I was like, okay, fine, great. So what's your business? And then she told me that she is the CEO of a textile company, and they are making compression clothes for athletes, but not for athletes only, but for dogs, horses, and even for camels. So do you know that in the Middle East they raise camels a lot? And when you have an athlete, a human or an animal athlete, it's important to stay healthy or recover from a strenuous exercise. And they have found out, and there is scientific evidence, that these compression textiles help you recover faster. And now they are starting a research project that they want me and my spouse's Minna's help to measure camels and camels' activity and heart rate in order to prove that their textiles for camels really work in a race. So in June or July I might be in Dubai doing measurements for camels. And this is just crazy stuff that this self-branding might lead to. And of course presenting, so I've been a teacher at the university, and I'm a martial arts instructor and also body combat instructor. So if you want to do a body combat lesson here also, let's do it, just change the music, and I'm willing to do that as well. But this is really important to recognize what are your skills and your, not skills, but what is that you really, really want to do, and then just do that. Not what your mom or dad or spouse or anyone tells you to do, but what you want to do. Then the skill sets. So this is rather interesting. I've been kind of like banging my head to this same stuff over and over and over again. So sometimes it's like what is the most important skill or academic skill for a person. In Harvard study, they found that from Harvard graduate, 83% of Harvard graduates said one thing has been really, really important for their career. Anyone guess what that particular skill is from Harvard graduates? Anyone? Presenting? What? Communication, yeah. Communication is 83% of Harvard graduates said it's the communication. Because no matter what you will do in your life, it's really important that you can make a really good application for your next research grant, or you need to make a really, really nice presentation for your clients, and it definitely doesn't hurt to have good presentation skills that you can promote yourself and your ideas. So that's an asset that I think almost everyone needs to have nowadays. Or if you feel really uncomfortable in public speaking, then you should have someone in your company or in your close circle to do it for you. And high math and high socials, those skills are now the most needed. So unfortunately, kind of like people who think that they are not good in math and are kind of like introvert. It's for modern work and modern business. It's not the most desired combination. Just picking that. And in LinkedIn, I've been trying to kind of like put this number down a little bit, but people really a bit misuse LinkedIn quite a lot. But nowadays this LinkedIn is really good. So if you have something to say, you make a LinkedIn post, and it has actually really good reach and penetration. So, and this is good to follow up your business contacts or any work-related contact, because people do change their jobs, and you see, oh, okay, you have found a new job in this area where you happen to work in. And also this is like I just discussed with Matti, who is the vice rector here in Oulu, and I learned that the software company that I'm using to develop our software, Matti has been using the same company as well. So it was really easy for me and Matti to connect and change ideas. So that is LinkedIn. I find it really, really valuable for career development at the moment. And math, so basically I happen to be interested in maybe it's wrong to say not in mathematics, but I'm interested in data. So that needs some mathematical skills. So doing analytics it's actually really fun to do. I love doing kind of like Excel, MATLAB, or SAS, whatever. So I don't mind the tool, but I really want to study the data and what is inside the data. And then the practical skills. So actually this is a huge set of skills what entrepreneur needs. And most of this stuff I don't want to do at all. It's really boring for me, but it's necessary to do business. For example, I need to, from this occasion, I need to send an invoice. If I don't send an invoice, I don't get paid, and then I will starve to death. So basically, that's kind of like not nice to do, but billing, accounting, legal stuff, maybe marketing, branding, I'm out of my comfort zone. So what I have done is that I seek partners who will be able to help me. If I don't have any money to pay for them, then I'm actually looking for investors that would be willing to invest to my company who have experience in that. And I think one of the really the best source of information is other entrepreneurs who you have as your friends. Most of us know at least one entrepreneur who is willing to help and tell you some really practical tips how to put your business to work. So, but this is kind of like, I'm hoping to hire people to do more of that stuff for me, but as a startup entrepreneur, I don't have the resources to do it at the moment. Then the market need, I won't go too deeply into my own field or what my company does. Of course, I'm willing to tell you more about that, but why I took this here is that I discussed about this need. What is the market need? So you might have this cool idea that, okay, I will be an entrepreneur, but is there really a market need for your skill? If there is no market need, then you should take that as a hobby, your dear hobby that you want to do. But if there is no market need for that, then it's kind of like a bad idea of go for business. For example, I like to do running, or I like to play guitar, or I like to do computer games, and those are really fun. But in order for me to succeed in those fields, it would be a tremendous effort, and even that I think I would be mediocre, because you need to start to learn those kind of skills early on and so on. So you need to recognize this. But for digital health, which is my business, is that all of this is really, really on the rise. So they say that when consumers have adopted something, a product, a service, or something like that, that if the penetration is over 20%, then it's a viable business. And you see here that online health information is really there. That's kind of like bread and butter business, online health reviews, mobile health tracking. This is just going to explode now. So the early adopters are below this 20% threshold. In the US, these trackers, people are wearing these trackers, it's now over 30%. So it's really hitting the mainstream. And what you are seeing at the moment is that it's really becoming ubiquitous. So basically all of your stuff will have some kind of measurement devices at some point. So they will become so cheap that it's not a question of cost to embed any sensors or intelligence into your clothing or your glasses or your wrist or anything like that. So then it comes a question that what's the service, what you do with the data, and that's definitely my business. Genetic services, wearables, I have done DNA analysis of myself, and this is really, how many of you have done DNA analysis, by the way? One? Only one? Two? So this is really interesting. So for example, if I take your cup here, it has your DNA, and I can send this cup, or the kind of like take the DNA sample, and then I would have your DNA. And nobody kind of like, you really cannot prevent it at this point. So this DNA analysis, it's coming really, really cheap, and anyone can basically take anyone's DNA analysis. That's rather scary thought, but I think it's definitely a business. Because again, what we have now done with a Finnish company called WobLab, we have already defined ourselves 23 different DNA tests that affect your well-being, your nutrition. There is actually a gene that tells that have you tendency to be a couch potato or not. And my genes, for example, when I did those tests, told me that I should avoid fatty foods. So I have the tendency that if I take fatty foods, they end up being here on my waist instead of so there are really, really practical tips for a well-being coach to coach people better. Usually people actually don't care about this genome information so much. They see the results, oh okay, terrible, I have this, and then they just forget it. But if the coach or doctor has this information when you meet your physician, it's really valuable information for your well-being. So definitely a growing business there. And here you see that actually these connected devices, this is just growing. Always a really good example that there is a lot of studies and business. So this Tekes has this 5th gear program. Is anyone here getting funded by 5th gear? No? Okay. So a lot of embedded devices there. So then the business idea. So basically, what is the thing that what we think together with my spouse? Minna is my spouse, and she has a PhD in exercise physiology. So together we have thought that what is really needed at the market there, and what the companies are saying, that there are these single point-to-point services that one might have a activity tracker, or one might have a Smartum club card that you can use to go to a gym. One can have a sleep sensor. One can use emotion tracker for tracking your emotions and so on. But those are single point-to-point solutions. And there is really no companies who are offering holistic well-being coaching, because it's actually quite hard to do, and you need a lot of different skills to do it. So, but if you do this, that you have genome, you assess persons with the different tests and questionnaires, you can actually make a personalized well-being coaching program that you can monitor with these devices and the different type of tests. And this is a novel thing that no one does currently in Finland. You might have heard of Jari Mentula or Jutta Gustafsberg, and they are public figures that they look good, or somebody might say that Jari is a bit too big or something like that. But there is no scientific evidence. It's just based on their personal presence. So what we have is what we think that we have turned science into a business. So basically, I'm not going into details of this publication, but this was our first publication that Minna presented in Australia last September, was that how this tracker information can be used in coaching, and does it do any good? And we had a group 40 executives from Kainuu region, other group 20 people got this coaching, and 20 of them didn't get any coaching. But they all had these gadgets, and all of them had these blood samples and tests made for them. And what we found out, we used Polar Loop and profiled them, that there is a group of people who is really actively using these devices, and then there are persons who are not actively using these devices at all. We found that there is a personal preference towards exercise, physical exercise, what affected these results. Again, I'm not going into details. But we found some reasons behind that. But most importantly, what we found out, that this is the average of the activity of the whole group. We found out that this was already known by scientific community, that when you buy a tracker or start to use the tracker, your activity goes up. and then it starts to decline. But what wasn't known beforehand is that actually when you have these coaching interventions, so you can see here that each of these vertical lines immediately causes a peak in activity. So we found out that this effect of coaching event lasts for 2 weeks, and it can raise your activity up to 10 to 25%. And it's really, really important information for us and for our business, that now we think that we have found out something really important. We will use the devices because clearly they have really good benefits for their users. But if you merge coaching and these devices, it will have sustainable effects for these people. And no one else has had any data for this. And this was 1 year study, which is also quite remarkable. So our skills as scientific researchers can really be turned into a business when you start to think of that. So just to conclude, so here's my background. I had a PhD in measurement analytics. Then I joined Nokia, which taught me how to make software and how to make product. That's really valuable skill if you're in the business. And then I was 3 years as a business management consulting with Accenture. So I learned these business skills, what was really needed. And then I met Minna. Minna has a doctorate in exercise physiology in occupational health. She's a professional coach, and she has now experience in this well-being research. So together we have started this company. And there are actually investors have been put already money into our business, and we will start to hire more people during this summer and to go full scale in this September. So we are developing now our program. So I don't go into details into that, but there is actually now this business model, and the scientific knowledge what we have is vital for our business, and the employer is willing to pay if we can really prove that our data and coaching works, and they can really save the costs of their employees. Okay, I will skip the business plan as well. There are really nice figures and growth numbers. As you can see, you need to present these really, really big numbers for the investors. Otherwise, they won't invest in you. So, can a doctorate be transferred to business? I think it can. Okay, that was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pekka. We still have time for a few questions. Does anyone have any questions? We demand 3 questions before anyone can get out.
Yeah, there is one.
Okay, so let's say you are in the beginning of, you are finishing your PhD and you are in the beginning of ideation and you have some idea. Okay. So you have some idea and you need some skills, but you don't have money. How do you start from there? Because you yourself cannot develop a full product or something. So how do you go from there?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that the easiest way to start the business, and that's kind of like recommended way as well, what I did when I was a consultant with Accenture, I asked Accenture's permission, can I start the business of my own? They said yes. So, of course, it's my free time, I can do whatever I want. So then you don't have a risk how to support yourself or your family and so on. You can start to kind of like experiment and start to call people and I can do this and this for you. Is it a good idea? Okay, let's meet, and then you can take a vacation and do it for the client. And then so that's, I think, the safe and best way to do it. And of course, then if you happen to know any really rich angel investors, just contact them and say that, okay, you have this really cool idea. If they are investors already, they can probably help you to go forward.
When you were starting your PhD at the beginning, did you have any objective actually transferring your doctorate to a business, or?
No, I just love neural networks. It just didn't matter what the field. Just give me the data. I want to teach these neural networks to learn and to be intelligent.
Okay, then in that case, if you started a business right after graduation or in parallel with your PhD, without any experience with Nokia or Accenture, do you think your business will be as successful as it is now?
I think it would be much harder. So, but it's if you have been lucky to grow, I think lucky to grow within a family which already has entrepreneurship, or if your father or mother or any close relative is an entrepreneur, then you probably see really close what it really means in practice, and you learn to have this business mindset. You need to have business mindset. Of course, experience helps a lot, but to start it, as I said, you can start that on the side, and I believe that University of Oulu doesn't object that at all if you start your own business, even though you are getting paid full time from the university.
How do we prevent our idea from being stolen in the process of finding funding and investors?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and my spouse Minna said, how you can explain everything in detail? They will steal it from you. So if somebody would steal your idea from you and start to do business, then it's probably a really bad idea. Because like as a doctorate, at least I think that we are really skillful people. We can do something that others cannot do. It's the matter of getting other people to believe in your idea and then telling that I can do it for you. So I think every book in the business that how to start your own business and blah 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 says that tell your business idea to as many people who are willing to listen to you. So because then they can give you feedback and input that, okay, this sounds good. Have you thought of this? And most of the time, I haven't, but thanks for the information. And then your business idea becomes even stronger and better.
More questions? Okay.
There is one.
One in the back.
What are the challenges you face in the first 2 to 3 years when you started your business?
Yeah.
Like you get so much demotivated from people initially.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say that be prepared that it's not a walk in a park in that sense that you need to get money from somewhere, and you need to have the clients from somewhere, or you need to have investors from somewhere. So unfortunately, I'm not interested in money at all, basically, and this is terrible sales pitch for investors, but it's not my thing. But you need to have this money from somewhere in order to grow your business, and it's the kind of like marker for successful business is the money. So the thing is that where I can get funded for my, if it's an R&D project and you need to get the product out to market, you need an investment. If it's software, you need to develop the software. If it's hardware, you need to test the components and something like that. If it's a service, you need to develop the service and sort that out. And simultaneously, you need to start to sell and hire people. So it's really difficult. And they say that is it 90% of startups are out of business in 2 years. So this 2 years is a really magical barrier. And I'm really close that I don't have that many clients as a sole entrepreneur. But now when Minna has joined my business, we are much more credible together. We can do more together. So my spouse has invested in my company and we are partners. So actually now when you have a really good partner, then it's much easier to go forward and you're much credible. So 2 persons or 3 persons can do much more than 1 person. So if you have a really good research team, then it might be a good idea that the team will start together and to support each other from the start.
Thank you. I think that was about it. We are running a bit late on schedule, but let's have a break now. And I would highly recommend, if you are going to start to be an entrepreneur, get the team around you. It helps quite a bit. And in university, there is Avanto Accelerator that Anne, when are you getting new people in? Okay, so next fall, it helps you. If it helps a lot with like getting things done, and there's always someone to pushing you forward. So also investors like teams more than sole entrepreneurs. But yeah, if you have still something, coffee or anything left, please serve yourself. We are going to continue in let's say 15 minutes. All right. Let's continue with our next keynote, Toni Manninen from Ludocraft, and keynote called How to Start Up Your Startup. Welcome.
Thank you. Everybody hearing me okay? Yes, good. Yeah, Pekka had to leave, but I have to start by telling that it was really amazing talk, and he went through a load of details in a brief moment of time. So I totally recommend that if the video recording is available afterwards, that you go through that again. So I can relate to most of the things Pekka told in the previous presentation, but since I can only talk about myself, so I will tell you my story. This is very personal story, and of course, as any personal stories, because it is my story, all the things I've experienced, some of the advice I may give you, there's no guarantee that it will work with you, because you are not me. But try to pick and choose whatever suits you. And if at the end we have time for discussion or questions, I'm happy to answer any of the questions. So let's start. Pekka talked a lot about passion, and I totally agree that it's always really useful if you find your calling. I wasted half of my life playing video games, being immersed in games so heavily that especially my parents got a bit worried. The endless discussions we had that stop wasting your time and get a real job, get an education, do something useful. There's no demand for video game players in the world. I'm pretty sure that there are some today, but not that many. So basically, I didn't have the customer, I didn't have the market, I didn't have the job, I didn't have the education, and my calling was to spend as much time as possible playing video games to escape the real world. And I'm still doing that. So, but they lured me to give you this talk today. So basically, I had a long and winding road. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I will do when I grow up. I still don't. And I tried various things, and this kind of collage of me or my alter egos or my extensions to my identity or whatever you want to call them, they are all as me as I am here today. But they are all very different persons. They are doing very different things. Most of them are still a bit confused, but some of them are lucky to do what they really want to do. So eventually, when I tried different things, I studied astronomy, not my thing. I failed totally. I tried to become an airline pilot, lost my eyesight, not probable. I was dreaming about military job. I didn't find that in me. I baked pizzas. I grilled hamburgers. I did odd jobs as a night guard. I even was a swimming teacher for school kids without actually knowing how to swim myself. So I suppose I'm a good bluffer, but that's another story. But then eventually I got this really lucky break. I was studying computer engineering. I did my master's in Oulu University. And I met Professor Petri Pulli. He's still working in the university, and in one recruitment event, he told me that join the department of information processing science at that time and start doing your PhD. You can pick whatever topic you like if he can be the one to supervise it. I don't know why he said that, but he's a crazy person. And I was really baffled because I never thought academic career as my option, because I don't know. I never thought it. But then at that night, I started thinking that, yeah, wouldn't it be cool to do a PhD on games? Because that, at the time, it was 1999, there was rarely any academic research on games design. There was some research on the effects of games. There were psychological studies about behavioral changes when people play games and stuff like that, but not about game design. And the next day I called Petri and said that, yeah, I have my topic. I'm going to do it on games. And that started my, let's say, amazing adventure in academic world, because it was an adventure. It was fun. It was cool as anything. It was the dream job. I spent my days playing games, designing games, talking about games, teaching game design, researching game design, and I spent those 16-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. So what Pekka said, that yeah, when you start up a company, it doesn't require you to work as much, but when you do your PhD, you tend to do that if you love the topic, and I really loved the topic. I managed to get talented people to work with me, so I had a research group of 10 people. Everything was fun and comfy. We basically did games as research experiments, so we built educational games. We built games to study certain phenomena. We did all sorts of odd projects with government money, with money from the funding agencies and of course from the companies. And my career prospects was pretty good. I was running a professorship at the department at that time, and I totally started thinking that yeah, this is the life. This is how I spend my days until I get a pension. And I loved it. Until something happened and the department ran out of funding. Of course. So our 10 people research group was to be eliminated to become a 3-person research group. And then the 3 of us sat down and we imagined our future. We imagined we are sitting in the corner room somewhere deep down in the university, reading books, writing articles, going to present these findings, and that's the life. And we hated the idea. We totally hated the idea. We had been making games with group of people, and now we kind of got no group of people. So then we got to the analytical phase. Pekka also mentioned that don't overanalyze, and we started overanalyzing that, yeah, what else can we do? Can we establish a new university? Can we find funding from outside the university? Can we do some odd jobs on the side and then have the research as a hobby? Because if there's no demand or need, then you can have the hobby. And we found out that, yeah, none of these really worked. We didn't manage to do that. So we then ended up doing something that some business people thought that it's kind of like business plan. I don't know whether it was really business plan, but we kind of put things on paper, and then we thought that we have no other option than to start up a company. So I was basically forced to start up my startup, which basically I can recommend to everybody who's still hesitating. Have somebody to force you to do that, because you can do it. It can be done. And that was the time of Ludocraft as a company. So basically the company is a spin-off founded by my research team. University is in no way affiliated with the company, so we basically left the university. We founded the company in 2006, so 2 years after I finished my PhD. And I still continued working in the university for a couple of years until my term ended. And then I never sort of applied for another term, because by that time I was so addicted to running the company that I just couldn't find the university life exciting anymore. It was kind of fun to work with fun people. And we were a small group of people, but then on the way we managed to recruit more talent. And now we are a group of 20 people still doing games, still loving it. and kind of trying to find the next grant to make the next game. So basically it's like, who of you work on the research grants, who have to apply your own funding to do your PhD? So you know the hassle, you know the stress, you know. So it's kind of like running a business, basically. So what did I learn from all those years? Because I basically spent 10 years working in the university, and now this December will be 10 years as a CEO of the company. So Ludocraft is not really a startup anymore, but at one point of time it used to be. And while preparing these slides, I tried to kind of remember that what were those early years? What happened, and what were the critical points in time where we almost lost it, but somehow survived, or when we totally hit the jackpot. So I try to pick and choose both positive and not so positive things. First of all, who of you have started up a company? Raise your hands. Who of you? Good. Who of you are planning to start up a company? Raise your hands. Yeah, good. Who of you will never start up a company? Raise your hands. Good. Any more? I spent 10 years telling everybody that I will never start up a company. I will never be an entrepreneur. It's nice to say in this event, like, yeah, don't do it. So I don't know why I did that. I was scared, I think, because I was told that when you start up a company and you run a life as an entrepreneur, you lose your health, you lose your money, you lose your house, you lose your family. That's I was taught that way. So you can guess that my family didn't have entrepreneurs before me. So, but they had somebody who has been messing up with their lives as a company person. So basically all those things I was scaring of losing. And now after almost 10 years, I've lost all of those things, but I still have to say that no, it's not that difficult. Running up a company is not that difficult. If you get your PhD, you can run any company. You can do it if you manage to get your PhD. If you fail in PhD, then you can still run a company, because that's kind of life. So anybody studying rocket science? No. Running up a company is not a rocket science. Starting up a business is not a rocket science. It's one of the most easiest things I have done in my life. It's actually a no-brainer. Basically, the key thing is to file the papers and start up a company. That's the start. And usually people say that the first step is the most difficult one. When you overcome the first step, then the next step is kind of much more easy. And the struggle comes only like years after that. But do you know what is the most biggest thing preventing people from starting up the companies? Yeah, the enemy is you. Or in my case, it's me. I can face my biggest enemy when looking at the mirror, because I was the one telling me that no, I can't do this, and why should I do this, and there's so much stress, and do I have the customers, do I have the skills, and what if. There were endless what ifs, and I'm still pretty sure that if I was not forced to start up a company those almost 10 years ago, I still would be happy living the academic life and doing my research and wasting away in the corner room over there under the endless bureaucracy and administration burden they seem to have nowadays. And I can totally say honestly to everybody that if I could do it, you can do it. I'm pretty sure. I can bet on that. I would bet my money, but I don't have any because everything goes to the company. So I think the key thing here is that if you are now at the moment of doing your PhD, you may face a kind of period of time when it's very exciting, you are passionate about it, or if you are the unlucky one processing at that time of the PhD process where the thing is more work than fun, it's like tedious, it's frustrating, it's endless, you get rejected, then of course it's no fun. And the least thing in your mind may be that you start dreaming big. But if you find the thing, if you find the spark, even this little tiny sparkle that you think that, hey, this could be me, I could be doing that, then try to raise the level and start dreaming big. Find people who can help you dream bigger. Try people who can say that, hey, you could do that and raise the bar even there. And try to stay away from people who tell you that, no, that's impossible. That's been tried like 10 years ago and it failed. You never get funding for that. There's no need for that. There's no customers for that. It's illegal to do that. Whatever. Don't listen to people who tell you you can't do it, because they just encourage the previous you, which was this, and this is not nice looking fellow over there. So try to dream big, because the dreams will be the ones that carry your business. Your customers will believe in your dreams if you believe in them. Even the investors may believe in your dreams if you believe. But if the moment when you stop believing, it will all collapse, most probably. And basically, it's a risk. Everything is a risk. Doing a PhD is a risk. It's an investment. If it's not investment of money, it's investment of your time, your energy. Maybe that time is away from something that would be more important to you. So basically, if you have decided to risk by doing your PhD, it's no bigger risk to start up a company. Just remember, like what Pekka was also telling, that what's the worst thing that can happen if your company goes belly up? Who cares? Start up another company. You are much more experienced at that point of time. You have knowledge. You may have new friends, new contacts. Possibly you have new enemies who are much more critical about what you are doing, but then you can learn from those as well. So if you don't try, you can't succeed. In Finnish, the whole word about entrepreneurship is quite of crazy. I don't know if you know. We call these people like yrittäjä. The thing is yritys, and the verb is yrittää. So it's basically all about trying. Trying. It's trial, it's to try, it's to be the trying person. In Finland, we don't talk about success. We only try, which is kind of, maybe it's something about the Finnish nature. We just want to try things, not to succeed. But yeah, I think in this way it's nice to try, because if you try, you have the possibility to fail. And I don't know if anybody in the world has ever learned anything about their successes. But I know many people who've learned about their mistakes and their failures. So in that sense, starting up a company is a good kind of course program. I don't know how many study points you would get, but at least you would learn something. I've been going through the things that I did when I was doing my PhD, and the things I did when I started up a company, and some of the things I still do today. And basically, what I realized that there are so many skills and areas of expertise you gain while doing your PhD that it's really easy step to move towards entrepreneurship. It's really easy. No matter whether you study technology or whether you study maths or whether you study languages or history, whatever, still the process of doing a PhD, it involves so many meta skills and meta expertise that if you just can understand what those are and you can kind of productize those, you're a sure winner. That's the thing. So that's why I told you that if you manage to finish your PhD, you are already kind of like hardcore entrepreneur in your mindset. But there are many people who don't believe this. There are many people who think that the skills they learn while doing their research, their PhD, they don't apply to the business world, because business world is all about this and all about that. But basically, it's the same world. if you go to an international conference to present your paper, you try to sell your expertise. Before getting to the conference, you need the funding, maybe from your department or research group or graduate school, in order to get your travel tickets and your application fee. So basically you need to make other people believe that the stuff you are writing is good enough to be presented in that conference. So when you write down that stuff you know, based on your research, you are kind of selling your knowledge, you are selling your ideas. The only thing missing is that you don't put that, this cost $1.5 million. But you said, this was my research and I find that. And maybe there are statistical margins that my findings are not as accurate and possible, and the N in my research is too small to make widespread generalization. So you tend to kind of reduce or put down the findings because that's the academic world. So now if you just turn that upside down and raise up your findings, so then you are in the business world. And you forget all the research details and stuff like that, because nobody cares in business world. They just want solutions, they want answers, they want somebody who they think that can solve their problem. And you can. And all those other things, the business things, running up a business, being a CEO or director of the company, or managing the finances, or managing the payroll if you are people working with you. Those are the basics you can easily learn. You can spend one afternoon learning all the critical skills to run the operations of the company. And then, if you don't want to learn them, if you feel that, they are still too difficult, you can find an accountant, for example, who can do that for you. Just find a good accountant to make sure that the paperwork is in order. Then that saves your energy to do what the business is all about. Find people who you can work with. Find people who complement your skills. If you feel that you don't have certain skills, find somebody who has and partner up with them. Make them as shareholders in your company. So then you divide the responsibility, you divide the prospective wins. I'm sure that already during your PhD process you have a chance to work with other people, so that's already a good point in time to start learning that, hey, could we do a business partners? My personal experience is that I would be much more careful to find my business partner than I would be in finding my romantic partner. Because it's easy to get rid of romantic partner, but business partners sometimes it may be tricky. So be careful in there and try to trust your intuition and your gut feeling and do your homework. Also reach out and connect. There's loads of help around. Like even in this community, there are people who has experience in starting up businesses, running businesses. They have contacts, they have expertise. So I am totally on the mindset that there are no real business secrets that can be kind of stolen away from you, even if you speak about them. I also, when I was at the university, I was scared that I can't talk even to the investors because they steal my ideas. But now I know that ideas are free. Ideas are everywhere. It's the implementation that counts. So if you can't implement, the idea is worthless. So the more you talk about the idea, the more reflection and feedback you get, and the easier it's to implement in the real life. The next time you go to a conference, try to ask people that, are you running up a company? Do you have a startup in mind? Do you have already your business? Most of the professors, at least they do. It seemed to be the thing. I'm sure even more PhD students start to have something on the side. So instead of just talking about your research, talk about the business side, because you can already create loads of contacts. But still try and not forget that it's always useful to have the customer somewhere on the line, because it's basically the one who gives you the money in the end. And if there's no customer, it's kind of, it runs out pretty soon. So, and that's the thing what I find it's very difficult for me. I'm a lousy salesperson. I really don't know how to sell anything. Unless we talk about my real passions and my real ideas. So those I usually can sell because I'm so enthusiastic. But other than that, it's if we have a product, I find it hard time to put a price tag on the product because I always feel that this should be free. Take it. But I can also always find people who are greedy in that sense and who love money, and those are usually good salespersons because they're like, go and sell something. Try to find the reason why you would like to do the business. If it's not meaningful to you, it's kind of very boring life. And if it's meaningful to you, then it's usually easier to convey that meaning to your customer, to your shareholders, to your employees, to the funding bodies, to investors, to anybody. So that will be the edge and soul of the product you do, whatever you do. My financial tool is Post-it note. I care about money, so I usually have this E.B. Post-it. E.B. is the estimated bankruptcy. So basically this means that if until this day we don't make another sale, we kind of lose money. We don't have any more money, so the company will go belly up. This is from 2008. This is old note, so I don't reveal current situation. So I always had this on top of my desk, and that reminded me that we need to do something. And that was my only financial tool. Okay, nowadays I use cash flow analytics and stuff like that, but that's mainly because I'm on the way. I've got excited about Excel sheets and stuff, so that kind of got me into it. What about business plans? Like I mentioned, our business plan was not really a plan. It was not purely a horoscope either, but we still carefully read the Maya horoscopes. They are very good in predicting the future, and we make business decisions based on that. It's always good to have a plan, to have a direction. It's even better to have some measurements that you can analyze whether you are going to that direction or not. It's very beneficial for your motivation and for the motivation of the stakeholders if you can kind of pinpoint that are you doing the right things or not. Otherwise it's more like doing crazy things year by year, and somehow it gets frustrating and it's really risky. But still, it doesn't need you to write like 20-page bureaucratic statement like, we're doing this and that. The idea is still the key. So there are ways to overcome the bureaucracy. And for example, my thing is that the group of founders in my company, so the initial step for me was that I had a lawyer to start up a company with me. So it was a good thing. And the lawyer is a person who loves routine work or loves paperwork. So basically, as a CEO of the company, I do almost no paperwork. I sign up some papers. I never read them. I never read any contracts. I just put my name under. And Pekka manages all the paperwork. And then also, if Pekka is not enough, we have another lawyer in the group of founders of the company. So I have two lawyers, and we have division of responsibilities. I do crazy things, and they try to keep me out of jail. And they've succeeded almost 10 years, so they are doing a pretty good job. So you can overcome the bureaucracy if you find a way. You don't need to do that by yourself if you don't want to. And then the final thing, just jump. Take the leap of faith. Jump, do it. If not today, latest tomorrow, and start doing things, because life is too short to be wasted on anything you are not passionate about. It's just too short. Thank you. Go on and rock the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions? There's 3 questions minimum.
Hi. how did you manage to concentrate and focus, being such a crazy person, as you said, while doing your PhD, I mean?
I think the main motivation was the topic. I was so in love with my topic that I couldn't stay away. So that's why I worked so long days, because I just loved what I was doing. And of course there were bad moments when I found that nothing is progressing, and I got rejection after rejection from scientific journals or stuff like that. And usually, like, if you have ever experienced that, those people can be mean. They destroy your work. Your pseudo-academic bullshit is blah, blah, blah. So I got every time after that, I needed to go away and do some heavy alcohol drinking stuff and just try to recover, and then come back next week and, okay, let's do it. And of course, the group of people you work with, that kind of steers you to the right path. Yeah.
Other questions? Oh, actually, second question, please.
Yeah.
So, what's your why?
Sorry?
What's your why? You said to know why you're doing is important. So, what's your own why?
Basically, my why is, there are many answers to that. I think from the selfish point of view is that I would like to stay alive. And in order to do that, I need to do meaningful things for myself. So I'm still on kind of going on and struggling to keep myself going in the world, because the world is not really the nicest place there is. So I try to do things that mean to me. And one thing I'm trying to do, I believe that I've been getting so much from those video games, computer games, that I want to pay back to the society. And basically I would like to save the world using games, doing it. And that's kind of worthy cause for me. Anything else is just a minor details and maybe steps towards that goal. So I don't know if I can achieve that in my lifetime, but I sure can try.
More questions, please?
Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to ask, since economical situations are changing, how do you balance those challenging situations in your business, or even a good, these peaks up and down? How do you balance in your own well-being and also as a professional?
I think very poorly, but still managing on staying on top of it. Like we had a brilliant chance, because we started up a company by force, but still, of course, we also could plan things ahead. So basically, we had a couple of customers already before we had the company. So we were busy filing the papers so we can bill the customers. So we had nice start in the beginning of the company, and I think the first 5 years was kind of like gazelle growth in the turnover. So we just grew, and we got very excited about the growth, and then we invested heavily on one of our own game titles, our own IPR, and spent basically all the money we had without thinking that maybe we should save something for the future. And that was also the thing when the Finnish economy was a bit shady. So then we have been spending like 3 years fingers on the panic button, that we do nothing else than try to stay alive as a company. And now we managed to overcome that. So now we are again on the point of our company that we can plan ahead. We can think strategically what we want to do, what we want to achieve. But it's like there hasn't been similar weeks in 10-year time. So every week is so different. And usually the horizon that I can kind of perceive is very near. So if I can see 3 months from now, I'm kind of like, woo, I can plan ahead. Usually it's like 2 weeks or 1 month. Now I can already say that we won't go bankrupt this year. So we are financially in a stable position, but okay, now planning for next year and what to do next year and how to how to keep on saving the world. But it's a constant struggle, and still I don't know how we manage to balance that thing.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank
Tony.
you.
Oh, more questions. What is happening? Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more question. You know that the personality is closely connected with the success. So which characteristics of your personality you think is closely connected to your success, and which characteristic which hide your success?
I think the positive characteristic is my kind of passion / determination that I won't give up. I go through the wall if needed. I continue as long as either my head breaks or the wall breaks, and usually it has been the wall. So I think that has been really good in struggling through those more challenging years. But then again, I think from the negative point, I think that was the question. I think it's the focus that I also find it difficult to focus on anything for a long period of time, because when it's a challenging, a new thing, it's very interesting. It's very easy to focus to try to do the mission impossible. But when you have done it, it becomes very boring, mundane, trivial, and then I lose interest, and then we need to find a new mission impossible. So we go from impossible mission to next, and somehow financially is not the best possible solution, but if you can monetize that, it may be good for the business even.
More extra questions? Okay. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
We are going to now have about 10-minute break again, and after that Katri will come on stage. Yeah, thanks.
Mä veikkaan, että me aika monta semmoista niin uteliasta yhteydenottoa saatiin sinne, kun ihmiset oli vähän sillä, että ne ei ollut ihan varmoja. Sitä niin, joo, ei ole vissiin ehkä päällä sen.
Mä laitoin sen päälle äsken.
Se on kaikki on hyvin.
Kaikki on hyvin.
Et sä vahingossa päälle. Kaikki ei ole hyvin.
Niin. Pitkä iltapäivä, niin rupeaa väsyttää.
Ei, on niinku joitakin, kun katsoo tuolla netin kautta sitten.
Tulee aika monet.
Niin.
Joo.
All right. Let's continue with the last keynote. So, digitalization is the word that comes out quite often now when talking about the current world and everything. And, well, how does the humans fit in the digitalization? Katri, please tell us.
Thank you. Very well. Yeah, so I thought I'd speak more about the topic my research group is working on, since I don't have a company yet. I might today after your pep talk. And also I don't have my PhD yet because things are kind of happening in parallel. So more about the substance than my personal journey, but of course if you have questions, if you're interested, I'm open to discussion and all kinds of questions. So I have this rather lofty topic today, using science to kind of save the world, as the previous speaker was saying. And our passion is how to make the world more human for human beings. You said the word digitization or digitalization. It's kind of like coming out of everyone's ears today. So we thought our passion is about focusing on the human being and helping human beings feel better, work better, and be together in a more fruitful way in this digital world. So I think I'll first speak a little bit about the big picture and then about the problem that our research team has identified, about why we think it's an important problem or an important phenomenon that we should be looking at, and then a little bit about the science around the problem, some findings that I personally find very interesting that I want to share with you. And then maybe a few words about our team and our future plans. So first, about the big picture that looks something like this. We've all heard that we now live in a connected world. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that there are estimates that in 2020, I think the estimates range from 4 billion to 7.6 billion people. So either half or all of the world's people will be connected to the internet. And what this has done is it's actually brought all these digitally connected people closer to you than ever before in human history. There was a study that showed that previously there used to be 6 degrees of separation between individuals, but now that we have the internet, it's only 4. So every digitally connected person in the world is only 4 handshakes away from you. So I think that's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity for human collaboration, for decreasing loneliness and all related problems, for helping humanity come together as one. Ironically, at the same time, I think it feels like it's never been this easy to lose connection to other people. Either by, having them stare at their smartphones when you're trying to talk to them. Sir! He's still, unavailable. or through the frequent misunderstandings that happen when we discuss online. People get aggravated really easily because misunderstandings happen. So for some reason, it seems like the internet produces this disconnect between people instead of the connection that it's meant to be. So we feel that there is a problem. There is this massive opportunity for connection, but it's not working properly. This tool for connection is not ready yet. It's not perfect yet. Why? Well, because digital systems are not designed to take human emotion into consideration. They perhaps reflect this view of human beings as rational, logical thinkers, when we're not. Emotions intertwine with rational thought. You can't shut down your emotions. Emotions carry within them really important information about what is important, what is significant. Emotional tones convey a lot of information about the true meaning of words. Like, I can say, "You're such a moron," or I can say, "You're such a moron." It's written out, it's completely the same message, but the emotion that is conveyed actually defines the true meaning. So as a result of this kind of inherent flaw in our digital tools, the tools we have for expressing our emotions in online environments are severely lacking in quality. So they're nowhere close to the richness of emotion expression that we have when we interact face to face. They're very poor. Like, we have the emojis and that's about it. And this in turn inhibits empathy. Now, empathy is another word you keep hearing all the time. Like, I flew here on a plane, I was reading the Blue Wings magazine, and even in there I found a story about empathy and how it's important in design and whatnot. But it is a significant thing, and emotions are a big part of empathy. And when this emotional information is not conveyed online, empathy kind of shuts down. But what is empathy? I think there are so many kind of definitions going around that I'd like to take a couple of minutes to present the neuroscientific one. So basically, empathy means that people understand each other on the level of thoughts and on the level of emotions. In neuroscience, there's this division into 3 different kind of core dimensions of empathy. We have empathy on the level of thoughts, empathy on the level of feelings, and empathy on the level of actions. Sometimes these are called cognitive empathy, affective empathy, and empathic motivation or pro-social concern. So empathy on the level of thoughts happens because we have brain mechanisms that make us all mentalists. There is this thing called the mentalizing network, which is active when you think about your own memories, your past, or when you plan for the future, or when you think about the thoughts of others. It's a wonderful tool, a wonderful skill that humans have, that we can kind of step outside ourselves and think about our own thoughts, or think about the thoughts of another person. That helps us understand each other better. Empathy on the level of feelings happens because emotions are very contagious. There are these very interesting studies where you show a subject a picture of a smiling face, Then you attach electrodes to certain muscles on the face, and you can notice that muscles instantly react to the smile that the person sees, even when the picture is presented for such a short period of time that the person viewing the picture isn't even consciously aware of seeing. Yeah? Now we're back online, yes.
Okay. I was
like
going
it.
to take my backup battery, but
Okay, let's see if it holds up. So, the mechanism of understanding emotions relies on us modeling them within ourselves. So we understand other people's emotions by experiencing them ourselves. In addition to smiles being contagious, pain seems to be very contagious, kind of. There are several studies showing that when you hurt yourself and when you see another person getting hurt, the same parts of the brain become active. Of course, not related to the sensory experience of pain, but the anguish, the misery caused by the pain. So in some situations, your pain is my pain. This happens more if the two people like each other or if the other person is perceived as fair. The third part, empathic motivation or sympathy or prosocial concern or altruism, is kind of what happens based on these two. So if you feel another person's pain, if you can put yourself in another person's brain and their shoes, see things through their eyes, do you do something based on this understanding? And we have mechanisms in our brain that make it very pleasurable, very motivating to help others, to share. For example, there was a cool study where they had a person in a scanner playing a game and getting rewarded for playing the game. I think they were given money for playing the game. At the same time, they measured the activation of brain areas related to motivation and pleasure. Now, what they found was that when not only the person themselves but also a friend got rewarded for playing the same game, the areas related to motivation and pleasure were tremendously more active. So in Finnish we have this saying, jaettu ilo on kaksinkertainen ilo, so our shared joy becomes doubled. So there's evidence, there is neuroscientific evidence that this is actually true. So we have these mechanisms that help us put ourselves in another person's shoes, understand another person's thoughts, understand another person's feelings, that make it really motivating to help and share. I think it's a beautiful thing. And so what happens when these mechanisms kind of shut down, when they turn off? For example, online, when emotional signals are not conveyed, it becomes really easy to kind of act psychopathically. These are quite troubling videos you can find on YouTube with kids reading mean. We have also the what's julkis in English? Celebrity version of celebrities reading mean tweets, which is kind of funny, but the kid version is just really troubling. So it becomes really easy to be cruel, to be mean, to say things when you don't see the other person, you don't see the emotional reaction, and when the emotional signal is not conveyed. So, and this is the worst one, you know. And I bet that if we took any really heated, really kind of cruel discussion and tried to have those people say the things face to face, it would be a lot harder, because you would see the person getting hurt, and if you're a normal, healthy, functioning human being, you'd get hurt yourself too, which would kind of inhibit this type of bullying and psychopathic behavior online. So the problem is evident in how we interact online. This is what happens when empathy gets turned off. And even though the phenomenon takes place on the internet, the consequences are felt in real life. So it might be a big problem. And so this is one of the most severe things that happens when empathy doesn't function properly, when emotional signals aren't conveyed. There are loads of other problems that happen because of the same thing as well, like distributed teams are having problems working together because they use these chat-based messaging services, and if they've never met each other, misunderstandings are common. What else? I think that customer service might be greatly improved if the service person was aware of the customer's feelings, if this information was conveyed. So, is it important? are emotions important? Really? Or is empathy really important? Is it just about some people getting a little hurt, some people just not functioning well? The more I think of it and the more I read other people's studies, the more I believe that empathy is like the key thing for humankind. It's always been important. It's important now, and most importantly, empathy will only be more important in the future. Its significance will only increase as we go forward in this digital world. So when you think about it, in prehistory, it could be that empathy is the reason why the whole human species has survived and flourished in this world. At some point we were living among beasts like these. The human being, this small, hairless, weak, slow creature trying to survive in an age full of beasts that are, quick and strong and terrifying. There's no way we could take on a lion alone, but by coming together, so coming together might have produced this kind of survival advantage that helped the human being survive in the age of beasts and live and be here still today. So it might be that because we have all these, that the fact that we have all these empathy mechanisms means that they were essential for our survival in prehistory. Well, how about now? We're not living among lions anymore, but I still maintain that empathy is highly significant for the human race, because together is still how we achieve the greatest things. There's no way that a single person could put a rover on Mars. It requires collaboration. We come together to produce the greatest things, the greatest achievements. Collective intelligence is our best problem-solving tool. In any field of research, in any area of business, we need each other. This also pertains to this thing about do we share ideas or not? Of course. If you have an idea, it's very probable that 8,000 people have had the same idea already. It's better to know of these people than to just be alone and sit on your idea. Another reason why empathy is important and why its significance will only increase comes from the field of work. Work is changing. We've all heard this, right? Because the robots are here. The robots are coming to take our jobs. Work is disappearing. This is what we hear every day. What this actually means in my mind is that in the future, and already now, people will focus on the tasks where our skills are better than the robots. So human beings will create most value by doing things that the machine cannot do. Now, what kinds of skills does this type of work require? It's not the skills that are typically connected to intelligence, like whether you have super memory or whether you're fast or super focused. It's things like flexible thinking, learning, creativity, but most importantly, empathy. Because I think that in terms of the development of AI, these are like very close to disappearing from my list. But empathy, it's like the last thing the human worker has, the last thing that can't be automated. So this is our advantage in work life, being empathetic, understanding the human being. Because when you think about it, all work comes from human beings. Work in general exists because there are human beings that have needs. There are human beings that have questions that need to be answered, and there are human beings that have problems to be solved. So we are the source of all work. And the better skilled you are at understanding the source of your work, the more quality you can produce, the better value you can produce with the work. So empathy is a highly important skill in any field of work, in my mind. It's the most important future work skill. There. Have I convinced you? Empathy is important. Now let's look at the science. So if empathy is so important, what increases empathy? What could we do? How could we become better at our work by increasing our empathy? Here's the neuroscientific solution: transcranial magnetic stimulation. Why not try TMS? Because there is evidence that it looks something like this. This is like from the 20s, much more advanced right now. There is evidence that high-frequency TMS increases pro-social attitude and this emotion contagion, so it increases affective empathy. So problem solved, right? Well, also, I'll just get zapped every now and then and become more empathetic. You could also snort oxytocin. There's evidence that intranasal administration of oxytocin increases empathy, but mostly in subjects who have some type of lack of empathy, so problems in the first place. So just put that in the drinking water and become better at everything. Save the world. Luckily, there are other options too. You could, for instance, read a book. There's evidence that reading fiction leads to better empathy skills, better affective as well as cognitive empathy. Very interesting. Why? Probably because it kind of feeds the mentalizing network. So the more aware you are of the different realities that people have in their minds, of different ways of thinking, different life experiences, the better you are at putting yourself in another person's shoes, imagining what people might be thinking, what they might be feeling. I think that probably in addition to reading and literature, also, travel, the other arts, just meeting people in general, are all great ways of increasing empathy. Then there's something about getting on the same wavelength with other people. For instance, there is one study where they show that if people played rock band before they were subjected to pain, there was more emotion contagion between the subjects. So for some reason, music sometimes puts us on the same wavelength and increases empathy between people. It might be because of the rhythm. My hypothesis is that the rhythm in music actually synchronizes our brain's oscillatory activity at certain wavelengths. At least tapping or clapping with an experimenter in synchrony increased liking. So adult subjects actually were clapping with the experimenter either in synchrony or asynchrony, and the people who clapped in synchrony liked the experimenter more. But that's something to try before your next job interview or something. And do you mind, just for a moment, clapping with me? Another fun study showed that they had subjects rock in rocking chairs, either in synchrony or asynchrony, and the subjects that rocked in synchrony did better in these joint action tasks and felt more connected to each other. So there might be something interesting about this synchronization. I think these are cool studies. I just wanted to show you. And there is evidence from neuroscientific research that our brains actually do synchronize when we work together on certain wavelengths, and that this synchronization is important for mutual understanding and this feeling of cohesion. So that's something we're going to investigate, whether this happens online as it does in face-to-face contact, because if it doesn't, we could make it happen and save the world. So how about in the digital realm? What could we do to increase empathy, since there seems to be a lack of it? The focus of our team, our research group, is on digitizing and transferring emotional information. That's just the one small part of empathy. We'll probably look at other things too, like this interbrain coherence and synchronization, but this is like the main thing we're focusing on, because we think that this will activate the empathy mechanism. So if we have more information about what the person is feeling, the person I'm writing these terrible messages to is feeling, I might not do that. I might be more empathetic towards you and understand you better. So in the long run, we hope that we could compile these ways of digitizing and transferring emotional information and kind of put them out there for free for anyone to use, so that any developer could use the protocol we compile to make the internet an empathy enabling place. So then we'd have emotion transfer protocol alongside HTTP. That's our dream, but that'll take perhaps, we'll be ready in the next year. That's basically our plan. And now when I say we, it's this research group here. So we formed during last year, which is also one of the reasons why my PhD isn't still done or isn't done yet. Took a lot of time and of course kind of because this is something I'm really passionate about, and I got to kind of work on it. So I got pretty excited and forgot about everything else. So we have some funding to do research on the topic of digitizing and transferring emotions. And the funding is also, it's kind of special university funding because we can use it on other stuff too. So we're planning on arranging some hackathons, such as the Emotion Hack Day that's taking place next week. Because when I say we, I'd like to mean you too. So we know that if our big dream is emotion transfer protocol, it means that only one research group will not be enough. We need everybody interested in the theme working on different ways to convey this information. And we had one Emotion Hack Day last year. It was very small, but a lot of fun. That's why we're doing it again this year. If you want to kind of follow us, if you want to join us next year, it would be really cool to have an event here even. And we'll see what we come up with, but the focus is on creating new ways of transferring emotion information. And then when we have these new ways that can be used to solve a multitude of problems, they can be used to solve internet bullying, they can be used to solve the problems that customer service experiences or the problems that distributed teams have. So we're working on kind of providing the core that can then spread out and solve a lot of problems or become a lot of new businesses. That is the plan. That is what we're working on. Thank you for listening.
Okay, now I can speak. Thanks. Does anyone have any questions? Well, I have to thank you. It was really, really good speech. I really liked it. Really, no questions. We have to wait 3 questions again.
We're not leaving before I get my 3 questions.
Exactly.
That's motivating. Yeah.
Come closer.
So do you think empathy is the last stand of humankind that cannot be artificially created? And if it can be created, is there anything left in us that we can call ourselves humans?
If artificial intelligence becomes conscious, I truly hope that we have somehow been able to model empathy and that artificial intelligence then identifies with the human race. Because if it doesn't, it would mean it's a psychopath and we're screwed. Right? Yeah, that's why.
Or might not be. It might just not care.
Might not, yeah. But, you know, still it fills me with fear. Of course, you know, we have algorithms for detecting emotions from facial expression. So, of course, it can be put into pieces, but, it would require that the artificial intelligence somehow experiences my pain, as that is one of the core features of empathy. So, in order for an artificial intelligence to have an experience, I maintain that it needs to be conscious.
This would be an interesting topic for the panel discussion.
For the bar.
Yeah, for the bar. We are going to go in the pub Crowley after this. So if you are there around 7 o'clock, you might find at least me there. Okay. Other questions?
Thank you for presentation, very interesting. I would like to ask, do you see any negative consequences of like making emotions, putting emotions in a digital world? Like you were talking about bullying, but for example, suicide behavior, can be dangerous.
Of course, everything, you have a hammer, you can use it to whack yourself on the head or build a house. The tool doesn't contain the intent or the end result. We're providing tools that can be used for all kinds of stuff. But we hope that they would be used for the betterment of interaction between people. Personally, I'm not that interested in marketing, but of course there's a big possibility to use this to, make this product better suited for your feelings, but so of course.
And maybe the last question. We still need it. Why are you so far away?
You get your exercise.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting and enlightening. Sorry. Well, my question is that if I have some idea about because nowadays it's like increasing numbers of people are they want the machines that can read the emotions of human beings, and what kind of expertise are needed if you want to build some kind of machines like that? What kind of expertise are they related to? Psychological, professional?
Well, the ways of kind of obtaining signals that are related to emotions, you know, you can use their sensor technology provides awesome opportunities because you can measure heart rate or heart rate variability that are obviously related to arousal, which is an important part or a factor in a lot of emotions. Measuring EEG and like the brain is kind of sketchy. At least the consumer bands that are available produce kind of low quality signal, at least for now. But skin conductance, measurement of skin conductance is one good way to kind of obtain information about the emotional state. Measurement of pupil size and eye movement, yeah, things like that. So I guess it's psychophysiology or physiology, and then taking that information and making it somehow intelligible.
Okay. And so you also think that in the future, the human-computer or human-machine interaction would be the mainstream, like in the kind of digital or how to say the digital world?
We're not that interested in human-machine interaction. We're interested in human-human interaction mediated through the digital world. There are a lot of groups that are working on human-machine interaction that are investigating this. How could your computer detect your emotional state? But we're not so interested in that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
If you're interested, like for example, the group at MIT, the Affective Computing Lab, is like the first resource to, of course, investigate.
More.
Only if you're nice.
Yeah, of course I am. Thank you, first of all. Very enlightening presentation. I also would like to say, but you talked a lot about how to read the emotions, but what are your ideas how to convey that information to the other party? So what kind of technologies or what kind of tools or content you plan to use? Do you have any?
We don't know. We hope that other people will find out.
Okay. So
we are building some things ourselves, but we don't think that we have all the right solutions because we need a lot of expertise of like user experience and things. Like we're building something we're calling the emotion sleeve, where we could detect emotions from your facial expressions and then convey them into a sleeve I'm wearing. Like we've put these small vibrating motors that will transform your emotions into kind of the sensation of touch. So I could develop a new digital sense for your emotions. But you know, this is one idea we have. And then we have something we're calling the blob, where the shape and kind of size of the blob could change according to your emotional state. So when I don't see you, the thing is we're looking for these kind of ways of conveying emotional information dynamically as it changes, because that's how it's conveyed in real life too. But the ways, there are multitudes of ways. Another thing we built is this thing we're calling it's not täplä, like this, another kind of blob. It kind of changes in shape and color according to your physiological markers, like heart rate.
Cool, thank you.
But you know, this is the place where several much better solutions will be built.
I would like to know what kind of specialists work in your team.
Well, we have a quite interesting team. That's Valtteri. He's specialized in, I guess, affective computing and measurement of these emotional signals. He's also a programmer. That's Tommi. He's a lab engineer. That's Kosti. He works in games. And these two older guys are from Yle. They are just media professionals. And so is she. She works at Pikku Kakkonen. This is Kaisa, because they have an interest of building content for children that increases empathy skills. And who else? That's Vesa. He's also a games guy. And then we have 2 researchers from Teosto who work in the field of music. That's Silja Martikainen, who's a psychologist, children's psychologist, and another person back there who's a cognitive neuroscientist. I'm a cognitive neuroscientist, and she's a cognitive neuroscientist. That kind of setup.
Anything to add?
No, I just wanted to know if you have psychologists, people who have
my background is in psychology.
Yeah, it's great because it will only contribute to your work and
artists. We're working with artists now, and I see that as a major advantage because about these ways of conveying emotional information, we don't know, but they might.
Thank you.
Since it's the emotions are being mediated by technology, is it certain that it will work?
Is it certain that it will work?
Yeah.
Of course not. But at least it's better than just having, emojis. I think that, let's say, for example, music can convey emotions quite powerfully. What is music? It's changes of pressure that make your eardrum vibrate. So the signal is very simple, and yet it's able to convey a lot of emotional information. So we're kind of hoping the same works in the digital realm, because we can bombard your senses through the digital realm. We just need to find the way to compile the signal so it makes sense.
So what would be the trigger, for example?
Like in music, you mean? Or
No, generally. For who would you target? The person being bullied, for example, or the bully, when considering the emotion transfer protocol?
Well, the emotion transfer protocol is meant for other developers to use, who then come up with the solutions that might target the bully. But one example of that we've envisioned is, say you're a terrible person and you visit this chat forum very often and you make other people feel bad, that the chat forum is able to perceive the emotions of all the users, for example, through the camera, and then you get a message like, did you know that this week you've caused, 70% of your messages have caused a lot of heartbreak and sorrow. Then you wouldn't need any moderator, because now you're not allowed to send any messages because you're a terrible person. All you do is cause people pain. Or if you could make them feel the pain somehow.
More questions?
So there is a problem of the privacy. It seems that you need to monitor what they speak. So how to deal with the problem of privacy?
I didn't get your question.
Yeah,
how to monitor the...
Yeah, because you need to monitor their words and to get their emotion. So there is a need to know what they say, and you get the data. So how about the problem of the privacy? And
yeah, of course. And then the problem of some people might not want their emotions to be conveyed. Of course, it needs to be totally voluntary, and you don't want to sneak around and obtain this information without telling the person that you are now being measured. But we haven't gone that far. We're just working on the core of how to make that happen. Then we need the next step is, of course, dealing with all these what ifs and possible problems.
Thanks. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you, Katri.
Thank you. You like me, yeah?
Good. And thank you all for joining us today. It was nice to have this on-stage event again, and hopefully you will join our next on stage event. I guess it will be on fall, but hopefully we are able to continue this speaker events here at the uni as well. Thanks. Oh, and like us in Facebook.